Hey guys, this is Tekhauri. I welcome you to this video tutorial where we are creating this ASP.NET Core application with Angular 10. In this application tutorial so far, we have implemented the bundling and minification in the last video tutorial. And right now our project looks like this, where we have the admin panel, we have an home page, and at the moment anybody can access this admin panel because we have not implemented any authentication or authorization in our project. But when we look at the finished project, if we try to access the admin panel, I go to the admin panel, I've been redirected to the sign in page or the login page for the admin panel. That's because right now I don't have any tokens associated with me in my cookies to log me in. So as soon as I log into the admin panel, there'll be an XSRF token, there'll be an access token and an anti-forgery token being created for me. These values, as you can see, are encrypted, and we are encrypting these values using data protection. So I will teach you in step-by-step guide how you can implement these features in the project. So to implement authentication and authorization in our project, first let's go ahead and create all the required views. We will create the template for the home page, we will create the template for our login page, so that we can then implement the logic needed to use these views. So let's go back to the project, and here in the account folder, let's start adding all the required views that we need. Now in the account folder, first thing that we need to add is a partial view for view start. Now you're wondering why we are adding a view start file in this account folder, whereas we already have a view start file in this entire view folder, and the view start file is uh, redirecting or using the admin layout file that we have created over here. Now if I go back to the project, the admin layout file, the layout file basically is providing us a layout where we have a sidebar, a top bar, and we have a footer and the body of the application or the view. But when we go to the login page, we don't have a sidebar, we don't have a top bar, we have a footer, so but we don't have the other components that we see in the home page of the admin panel. So if I make use of the same layout, then the sidebar and the top bar will be automatically added to my login view as well. Therefore, to avoid that, I'm going to create a separate view inside the account view folder. So when you add a view underscore start file inside any view folder, then instead of using the default view start file, it will use its own view start file. So let's first go ahead and add this file. So go to ASP.NET Core and add a view start file, razor view start add. Now this layout, what are we going to do? We are going to specify our own custom layout. So I'm going to add a layout called as underscore admin blank layout, which is basically underscore is the name convention used to define a partial view. So I'm going to create a blank layout. So let's go ahead and add this blank layout file in shared folder. So I'll go and create a razor view, call this as underscore blank admin blank layout, which basically means it's a blank layout. It doesn't have any other components in it. Let's delete this default comment. Once the file is created, deleted the comment, I will go ahead and paste the code that I have already created. So here I'm specifying that the layout for this file is null, and here inside this particular file I have added the same kind of component view where I have a structure where I have excluded and included the files that I need for this particular view, that is the blank layout. I require the bootstrap styling, I'm going to create a login.css file inside the admin folder. So let's go ahead and create it. So let's go to the admin folder, because all the styling related to this login page, I will add it in the login CSS styling file. So I'll go to the root folder, add a login file style CSS style sheet for login inside custom CSS admin. Let's add a new file, go to web CSS, and let's call this login. So login.css is added. Inside the login.css file, I have already created the CSS styling. As mentioned before, I'm not going to show you how to style the documents. For CSS and HTML, we'll be just using ready code. And if you have any questions, you can ask me using the comment section. But please, I recommend you to learn the basics, which is HTML and CSS, because we are not going to teach you that in this tutorial. So I've added the required styling for the login page and in the login.css. Since we have implemented bundling and minification in the last video tutorial, I have created bundling and minification of files. I will go to the bundle.config.json. If you are new to this video tutorial, you don't know what we are talking about, please watch the bundling tutorial that we have created, and you will understand how to create and implement bundling in this project. So here inside the bundle config.json file, I need to create a uh, file called as login.min.css. So I'm just going to copy this over here, and I'm going to paste it here again. Now inside the CSS admin folder, I have to create a file called as login.min.css from the file login.css that I just created. Similarly, let's go ahead and also add the required file for JavaScript for login as well. So now going back to the admin layout, we have added the reference for JavaScript for development and non-development version. So the admin.min.js file is already referenced over here, so I don't need to do any changes for JavaScript file, but only thing I needed was a minified version of the login.css. So I have gone and added that and referenced the minified version over here in the non-development version of the project. So Font Awesome already installed reference the minified and the full version. So here we are going to show the body in the center of the div of the container. So we're going to render the body. We have a footer, and you can change these values or the text based on your requirement. And that should be it for the layout of blank admin view. So now let's go back to the let's create a login page inside the account folder, or the login view inside the account folder, so we can use it. All the styles that we just added, so we can use it in the view. We need a view for that, so let's add it. So go and now let's add a new file. We are going to create a razor view. Let's call this as login new. So the login file will be added. We don't need this text, so let's delete it. So inside the login.cs HTML file, we are going to use some razor code or razor syntax. So I'm going to paste the code over here. So first, starting with the title for this page, it will be called login, which will be displayed in the tab of your browser like this, login. And then if we go back to the login view, I am going to use certain styles. So the styles that we are going to use, first let me show you that we want to implement sweet alert for notification. So when I log in, and when the login is successful, you see this pop up with the success and the check mark. That is done by a JavaScript library called as sweet alert 2. So the package is free and open source. You can find the details here at sweetalert2.github.io. I will leave the link in the video description, and here you can see that this package has all the documentation. So here are some examples. If I click on the basic message, it will pop up like this. So there are lots of options. If you want to implement in your application, you can use it. So we will be using Suite Alert 2 as our package for these notifications and pop-up. So we are going to reference Suite Alert here in the style section of the login page, because we are going to use it in the login page to show the notification if the user login was successful or it failed. So to use Suite Alert 2, we need to install it using libman. So if we look at the libman file, here default provider is cdn.js. So if we go back to our browser, go to cdn.js, here is where we get all our libraries from. The library that we are looking for is Suite Alert 2. So I can just search Suite Alert 2, and here I will have Suite Alert 2. So I can open this library, copy the name of this library like this, go to my terminal, or actually I can just open the terminal from for the project just like this. Right click, add, open, go to tools and open the terminal. Here I will provide the command libman install. Since my default provider is cdn.js, I just need to provide the name of the file. So the package, it's the package we just copied, the name limonte Suite Alert 2, and hit enter. So whatever is the latest version that will be installed in our project. So it's asking us for the destination where it needs to be installed. I'll leave it default and hit enter, and that's it. So anytime you want to install any package in your project, you could just go to cdn.js because it's your default provider for packages. Search the package, open the package, copy the name of the package, and that's it. After the libman.install command, all you have to do is just type in the name of the package. That's it. So now the Suite Alert 2 package has been installed in our project. If we go back, you will see the reference has been added for Suite Alert. And if we look at the lib folder, we should have Suite Alert package added. So now let's use this Suite Alert package in our project. So going back over here, let's reference it. So to reference it, I will just use the link tag and provide the reference, which it is located in the lib folder inside the limonte.suitealert2 uh, folder, and inside that I'm going to use the minified version of Suite Alert CSS. Now let's go and also reference the JavaScript file that we have. So go to the script section that we have here. Inside the script section, I will paste in the code for Suite Alert 2 minified version of the JS file. So that's all you need to do in order to use Suite Alert 2 in your project or in your file. So now we have added the reference, but we have some errors because the input tags I have created and I have specified using certain model, which is the login view model, which I have not yet created. So we need to create the login view model with the properties like email, password, remember me, and then we have to reference that login view model inside this file so that we get rid of all these errors, so that the values that are entered get mapped over to those properties. So we are using Razor syntax. If you're not familiar with Razor syntax, how it is used with HTML, you can always read the Microsoft documentation on it, but that's how we are going to create a form using Razor syntax. And now let's go back to the model service so that we can create the required model with all the properties that we need. So going back here to model service, I'm going to add a new class. I will add the new file in the model service. I'll add a class, call this as login view model, and it will hold my properties for logging in for the user. I'll add new, and here inside the login view model we don't need the login view model constructor. So we need to add three properties that we are going to use. If we go back to the CS HTML file, we need a property called as email, password, and remember me. So I'm going back over here. I'm going to, sorry, going back to the login view model, add these properties, email, password and remember me. Let's add the missing reference to data annotations so we can use these attributes like required email address. So required means that this particular property is required, it's a must, so we cannot leave this blank, it's not optional. Whereas if you decorate a particular property without a required attribute, that means it's optional. So if I go back to the finished project, I have to provide a email, I have to provide a password, but it is not necessary for me as a user to provide the remember password option to check it off. Okay, by default, if they don't check off this option, that means they don't want uh, us to remember the their username and password. Okay, in the browser. So let's go and go back to the project, and here we have added this. You can read up more about the attributes that we have used, like email address will specify to Razor that this particular input or this particular value is an email address, so it will validate it using the email address attribute that we have used. So if somebody tries to enter a number instead of alphanumeric characters, so we know it's a digit, it's not an email address, so it will throw an error. So there are many attributes like this that you can use in from data annotation class, and you can read more about it, but for now we are just going to use this and the data type as password attribute. That's it for this. Display name is basically the attribute used to display the name of the label. So that's it, these three properties created. Now let's go back to the CS_HTML file. Now we are seeing this error because a CS_HTML file does not know where these properties are coming from or where these properties need to be mapped. So in short, it does not know where to find the model class for these properties. So for that, I need to go and reference this in Razor page like this. I'm using the model service and I'm using the model login view model. So as soon as I reference this, you will see that the errors are gone. I don't see any more errors. So we have created the login view now, and we need to, we have also implemented the login CSS in the minified version and referenced it. So if you check the admin blank layout, we have already referenced the login.css, and we have created the login.css in the custom folder. So next we want to create the folder for holding all the images and all the fonts inside the root folder. So let's go ahead and create this folder. So inside my root folder, I'm going to create a new folder, call this as fonts. And I'm also going to create a new folder called as images. Now inside images, I'm going to add an image that I want to set as the background image in my project. You can add any image that you want to set as the background of your login page. And you can also change the name from bg.jpg to anything that you want. So I will just open this folder in Finder and paste the image called as bg.jpg that I want to set as the background image on my login page. Now I will also add the required fonts that I need for my project. So I'm going to open this in Finder as well, the fonts folder, and here I'm going to use two types of fonts in my project. I am going to use Montserrat and Poppins. You can find the fonts from any websites that you want, but I usually go to Google Fonts, and then I select or I search the font that I want. For example, I select Modak, and then I can just download the font by clicking on this option. So I'm using Montserrat, and it's the font that I downloaded from here from Google Fonts. So go ahead and download the required fonts that you want. If you don't want to use Google Fonts, you can use fonts from some other website as well. Just make sure you download the required fonts and place them in your fonts folder and then reference them appropriately using their correct name. So that should be it for fonts and background images. We have added that. One final thing that we want to do before we go ahead and check the login page, go to the account controller of your admin area. Here, this account controller is calling the index view, but we don't have an index view in the account view. So we need to change this to login because the view that we just created, it's called login, not index. So I'll save this. Now everything has been done. So let's go ahead and rebuild or build this project and see that we don't have any errors. So the project was built successfully. Let's now run this application. Let's go to the browser and let's refresh. So application is loading, no problems. Let's go to the account view or the account controller and then go to login. So hit enter, and here when we go to account admin, account control and login, we have the login view. So everything loads fine. Our CSS and styling has been applied and loaded without any issues. If we go to the inspect tab and we check the console, we should not see any errors. So all works. So I think this should be it for this video tutorial, where we have implemented the first part of adding authorization and authentication to a project by styling the login page, adding and styling the login page. In the next video tutorial, we will start working on the required authentication functionality that we need. We will work on that in the next video tutorial. So for now, please like and subscribe our channel Tech Howdy so that we can always start adding contents that you like. Also, the code will be provided in the DevOps repo. Find the link in the video description. If something is missing in the DevOps repo, please provide a comment and I will update it. Thank you once again for watching.